like, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Cambodia Economic Policy Dialogue. Today I have two great friends from Malaysia, and I just happy that we're able to pull on last minute my invitation to them to join our show so that we can discuss more on the role of think tank in the context of ASEAN, how think tank help influence policy, how we can have stimulate political debate, how think tank, in fact, do a big role in terms of advancing the ASEAN political, economic, and social agenda. So, Michael, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much, Mr. Siphana.
Yeah. So, tell me, I mean, it's been a long time you in this business, in this think tank. Give a bit of background on your background, your experience, KSI, a bit of everything. Yeah.
Well, I've been involved in a non-profit think tank for more than 20 years.
20 years.
Firstly, it was called the Asian Strategy and Leadership Institute, or ASLI,
ASLI, yes.
and later on we set up the KSI Strategic Institute for Asia Pacific. We are very much focused in the economic area and in the area of sustainable development. I think tanks play a very important role in advancing cooperation among the ASEAN countries on a track 2 basis, perhaps sometimes on a 1.5 track. We are able to help connect government, business, and civil society. And I think that's one of our principal roles. Very often, civil society elements are left out of the consultative process.
Yes.
So we make sure that in many of our dialogues and our programs, we bring together government, business, and private and the civil society. In fact, today there's a lot of emphasis on the third sector in the progress of the Sustainable Development Goals. And I think that's what we hope to be able to make a difference, being a bridge between the public, private, and third sector.
Yeah. That's it.
Yes.
How about yourself?
I'm fine. I mean, I've been involved in a variety of activities, both in the private sector, in banking, and then, of course, in securities market regulation, airline industry. I mean, you name it, telecoms and so on and so forth. And but I've always been grounded in academic and intellectual exercises and need to ensure there's good understanding of the context in which wherever I was operating, whatever I was doing is defined. So right now, so I'm kind of at the end of over 50 years of work, so I want to spend more time thinking, writing, and forming, helping to form an ASEAN or Asian-based thinking, because I believe the Western intellectual tradition, it has good sides, bad sides, but it dominates our thinking, everyone's thinking, to the point that our thinking is not known, and we feel cowed and overwhelmed by that thinking. I think we should think tanks in our region be independent, be able to compete against the Council of Foreign Relations, or Chatham House, as think tanks defining our area, how we think, how Asians should think. I mean, some people ask whether can Asians think? Of course we can think, The thing is we haven't allowed ourselves to think enough,
Michael, back to you. You met my former Prime Minister many years, Samdech Techo. Go back what, 15 years, something?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So I mean, in 2022, we asked him to be the patron of the ASEAN Economic Club. So you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. So basically, tell me how this ASEAN Economic Club.
Actually, the ASEAN Economic Club was an idea that actually came from Samdech Techo as well when he was Prime Minister.
Interesting, interesting.
Yeah. He was telling me that we should set up in ASEAN a organization or a body that can promote the ASEAN narrative to the rest of the world. Because all along, the narrative in the media has been very Western-sided.
Yes.
And then he was thinking that perhaps we should get together and get ASEAN think tanks to work together to have an organization or a body that promotes that ASEAN narrative, doing our own economic research, putting forward the economic thinking that it originates from ASEAN instead of just being dominated by the Western press. And we were very honored that he launched the ASEAN Economic Club and agreed to be the patron of the ASEAN Economic Club with your good self as the advisor to the ASEAN Economic Club. We have brought together some thinkers from the ASEAN region. I have several co-chairs. I'm one of the co-chairs. We have from Indonesia, Ambassador Dinopati Jalal, former Vice Foreign Minister, who is our other co-chairman. And also we have Professor Sutipan Chirativat, who was at that time Executive Director of the ASEAN Studies Center at Chulalongkorn University. He has since retired, returned to the family business, the Central Group, which is one of Thailand's largest private sector groups. So together we hope that we can push forward this ASEAN narrative to the rest of the world.
But you also chair the ASEAN Economic.
ASEAN Business Club.
Yeah. So here's the ASEAN Economic. Two different things. Eh?
Well, the ASEAN Business Club,
Yeah. You're the ASEAN Business Club.
Yes.
ASEAN Economic Club. Yes.
that was formed way back, around about 2015, 2016. Essentially as a networking among ASEAN businessmen, a networking organization. And with COVID, we have received, I'm trying to revive it. The networking is good because we get together to come up with policy papers for business. This is for economy.
Yes.
This is for businessmen.
Yeah.
And one of our papers in the past, Lift the Barriers campaign. These were papers covering various industries, aviation, telecommunications, tourism, and what are the non-tariff barriers that still exist within ASEAN, although we have the ATIGA, we have the ATISA, what exists, what are the problems businessmen are still facing. That's one. So it becomes a ginger group. The other bit is, of course, networking among ASEAN businessmen so they know each other better in business. There is, of course, the ASEAN Business Advisory Council as well. I was involved in that as well. I was the chairman of that I was in the Malaysian chairman for 10 years, and we were chairman in 2015. But that's government appointed, and it tends to be a bit more structured and follows or shadows what governments are doing. We have kind of dialogues with ASEAN leaders every year, but the dialogues are quite stiff and structured. The only ASEAN leader who said anything, responded to our papers, was your Prime Minister, your last Prime Minister. He would respond and say all sorts of things. Most of the others were very quiet, But so it was a bit stiff, and so they have their own roles, these various bodies, and I think ABC, should start reviving its role. What we're trying to do also, I'm working with Michael. To ABC can work with AEC, can work with KSI, and we're trying to look at the fundamental issues now facing ASEAN, the geoeconomics and the geopolitics. And we are going to have a conference on January 26th in London. at the London School of Economics, where I am a visiting senior fellow. Now, why are we having it in London? Oh, you say because I'm there, no. But also because if you have it in any ASEAN country, they'll say, that is going to be slanted this way or slanted that way. So we have it in an objective environment. And from there, we want to build up 2 pillars on the geoeconomics and geopolitics. What is the future? How we maneuver and navigate that future. And there will be research work. We have one-day conference, comes up with, identifies the main issues. Be interesting if you could make it as well, to have a voice heard there. So we want to build up, then, coming back to your initial question about think tanks. So we can actually plant and then deepen, get deep into the issues that they are. For example, one issue that's been playing on my mind a lot on the geoeconomics is we have the RCEP, but there's also the CPTPP. Now, what happens if those 2 bodies could be merged? Very tough people say impossible, bum, 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 bum. What happens if the membership becomes more common? At the moment, you have 11 and you have, 15, right, on the other? And there are some common members.
12 and 15.
Yeah, with the UK. Now, why can't the EU join the CPTPP? Why can't China join the CPTPP? So then you have a common platform for new trade and investment relationships. The problem with China's membership was, of course, some members of the CPTPP were blocking it on account of their relationship with the United States, really, essentially. And now with the United States not interested, for a long time or short time, it's their problem, but we have to build, our platforms. Now, even if we cannot merge the 2, can we pick out provisions in the 2 agreements that we can practice in common? For example, the rules of origin. So that's one area, so to look deeper into these sorts of issues. Now, on the geopolitics, it's difficult to see what, America is declining, I think, and it's being accentuated by the President Trump's policies. Now, China is rising, so is Asia. We want to see how other parts of Asia can also rise, and not just China. We don't want to be there to be a substitution of one hegemony by another. We want to have true multipolarity. What role can ASEAN play? Has ASEAN structure and organization fit for purpose in a new geopolitical multilateral world? How can we be able to punch, our weight, and not above our weight? We're not punching our weight at all.
At the last ASEAN summit, this is the first time when ASEAN have a joint, AMM and AEM, and have this geo-economic task force to look at the issue now facing ASEAN, all this difficulty, facing ASEAN, and this could be a big role for think tank to contribute. I read the document, and I would say, it's a time to get a more political punch from think tanker, because I think we tend to think a bit freer. Minister, whether AEM or AMM, they're constrained in a way by the political, the relationship, and that sort of thing. While we as think tank, we can be more open, more direct. And Michael, every year, KSI organize on the margin of the ASEAN Summit every year, whether in Cambodia or in Laos or in Malaysia or in Singapore. You always organize a side event, an event on its own, but it's just next to the ASEAN Summit. So what motivates?
What we do every year, we try to organize on the early summit, the April-May summit, ASEAN Leadership Forum, which you have participated in many times. again, our idea is bridging government, business, civil society, and the academic group.
Yeah.
We think by bringing different voices together
Yeah.
from think tanks, government, business, civil society, academia, we would be able to perhaps come up with some new policy inputs that we can take forward to the ASEAN Secretariat. Every year at the end of the forum, we submit our report to the ASEAN Secretariat,
The finding.
the findings, and also to the ASEAN chair, whoever is the chair, and hopefully some of those inputs can be considered. We try to provide views also from the next generation leaders, because one of the things that we always focus on is getting the younger generation to be more conscious and more involved in ASEAN. I think ASEAN consciousness among the younger generation is a bit lacking.
Yeah,
I think that's one area that we need to beef up and to get more of the younger generation to see that they have a stake in ASEAN and that ASEAN is not just for government or not just for business, but also caters to different groups of people. We also prioritize the SDGs because
Yes.
we think SDG is very important to move forward, and we try to involve various organizations that are active in the region in promoting the SDGs. Our last few ASEAN Leadership Forums, we also brought in IPA,
Yes.
the ASEAN Interparliamentary Association, to engage with parliamentarians in the region as well.
It's interesting. You have now. It's the first time you bring IPA in, right? Interesting. Interesting. Now you have the parliamentary dimension into the picture also. Yeah. You know, I want to return to you the issue of the CPTPP and ASEP and how the dynamics. I was in Florence last month, and we met about 40 some experts from different part of the world, and we talk about the world in chaos, and that's the topic, the world in chaos. And it's interesting how we see that the first speaker was a DDG from the EU, and the question is that are you guys quite keen or what, so it's interesting how whether I do not think the EU as a grouping could come part of the CPTPP, but there could be some component where some sort of like MOU or something to collaborate with the CPTPP, right? But the issue of China and Taiwan, of course, the two sort of like cancel each other out in a way. But it's interesting how we see now that these two mega regional free trade, the dynamics of it, how it really push, us to think toward more a mini WTO thing. Yeah. What do you think of that?
I think you're talking about the Club of Florence, are you? I mean,
Yeah.
they have a Club of Florence like they have a Club of Rome, and so on. Europeans actually are sleepwalking. The EU are sleepwalking. They do not want to upset the Americans, despite the fact that the Americans have upset them.
Yes.
Yeah, and they do not know how to deal with China because there are concerns that they have with China in terms of dumping, as they see it, and of course of its potential growth as a geopolitical force. And being Europeans, they have a historical position which is different from us as Asians. So they are rather mixed up, in their minds. I mean, the thing is to pick out, as you rightly say, who are those who might be interested, to engage. But I think as ASEAN comes out more, we can actually be more activist in our foreign policy. We don't have a foreign policy as such. So the chair of ASEAN becomes very important. Although I'm Malaysian and I may be deemed to be biased, but I think Anwar Ibrahim, the Prime Minister, has done a very good job this year as a chair of ASEAN, not just in trying to be more active, doing things about the border, border conflict, doing things even about Myanmar, a little bit more in terms of humanitarian aid, but also in engaging other regional bodies, GCC plus
GCC
China,
is a good
talking
example.
about Brazil,
Yeah.
which is a huge economy. We have to look at that way. South Africa, and so we're engaging more. But EU, I don't see the same level of engagement we should do. It's a forgotten continent. Of course, people say they are also like America, but they are still a force to be reckoned with. And the thing that you said about what was done this year was the economic ministers and the foreign ministers, who are actually the high level, the ASEAN Coordinating Council, meeting. And we found that to be needed. And if that's structured and made permanent, good. The other thing that we found that was needed was between the economic ministers and the finance ministers. For a long time, for the longest time, ASEAN Business Advisory Council did not have a meeting with the finance ministers.
Finance minister,
Only the Europeans and the Americans. Now, this is our thinking again, Asians.
At the G20, it's the same. They try to revive also the meeting of the finance people.
So finance and financial markets,
Yes.
and all this sophisticated stuff is American and European remit.
Yes.
No. I mean, it's our savings that are going through that process, our trade that's going through this process. So it's very good that we get more integrated in terms of our own organizational structure and be more active. So Anwar has actually got the approval of the other ASEAN leaders to be more active on many areas.
Yeah.
So the approval is there. So the next chair, the approval is in
Which is
place.
the-
You
the
play the role,
Philippines,
and engage Europe, as you say.
No,
among
I,
others.
I want to say that this year Malaysia chairmanship really did an outstanding job as compared to the previous chair 2015. We sort of a bit disappointed because that time we were expecting 2015 is the ASEAN Economic Community.
Yeah.
We thought it was like a big bang, but then it sort of fizzled out, right? But this year is really, Prime Minister Anwar did a great job. Not only he helped, mediate, a ceasefire and a peace deal, okay, which is a major. And now, I mean, he also have your military observer team in Cambodia. So this is something that Cambodia will never forget. Will never forget the fact that you help enable a ceasefire and a peace accord in your own soil during your ASEAN chairmanship. This is something historically will be forever indebted, okay? So I think this is a great thing. You engage economic front with the GCC, GCC and China, which is quite interesting that now the GCC country are involved in a major way to deal with us. Maybe it's a lot to do with the way the American treat them, whatever, I don't know. But it's interesting, and then you bring Brazil, you bring all that. So I think it's sort of like a ASEAN revival thing, It's quite interesting, yeah. What's your take on that?
I think Malaysia did a reasonably good job as
Yes.
the ASEAN chair, and Prime Minister Anwar has his own charm,
Yes.
personality that sets
I love
the
him.
difference.
I
think
love
that
him.
sets the
He's
difference.
very charming.
Because
Yeah.
the personality
Yes.
comes across very well.
Yes.
And that, I think, breaks a lot of walls and
Exactly.
promotes the dialogue
Yes.
and the consultation processes.
Yes, yeah. I mean, he make people feel comfortable, I love his humor. When you listen to him, it's sort of like, singing a bit tense, and then he sort of get everybody laugh, and then we're back to business, which is great. So anyway, moving forward on the CPTPP again, Malaysia is a founding member, Brunei, Vietnam, and Singapore. You have 4 out of 10, right? So the issue is the remaining 6 is a bit uneven, but uneven. The reason Cambodia show interest is that we're more futuristic in our approach, because 4 years from now, we will graduate from a least developed country status. We'll become a developing country like Malaysia, like Indonesia, Vietnam. So we feel that we are in a position now to join the club, right? But what it means now, we have to really build a readiness profile. We have to build a compliance aspect of it, because I was told that in the CPTPP, which is a very high standard, you unlike the ASEP, I did a comparison between ASEP and CPTPP. Yes, ASEP is very soft, very understanding, very accommodating for different category of country, but CPTP is quite high standard. Yeah.
You see, the thing is, a narrative on Cambodia
Yeah.
has not been wholly positive,
Yeah.
especially in the conventional world, the Western circles. Cambodia is usually identified on the negatives, such as in terms of workers' rights, in terms of human rights,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. Think about think tanks, ASEAN think
Yeah.
tanks, is to say, yes, that happened, why, what's happening now, how is it moving, where is it going?
Yeah.
The Cambodian story, the Cambodian narrative, objective narrative,
Yeah.
should come forth, should come through.
Yeah.
And I think there's no reason why Cambodia should not be a member of APEC or of CPTPP, because even in the CPTPP, there are provisions to suspend certain articles
Yes.
from applying,
Yeah.
to allow time to be risen, for those standards to be risen. So I think now is the time to tell the story and to say where we should be moving,
Yeah.
and how everyone is committed to open trade, free flow of investment, and of course recognition of rights will come along with it, as you grow. So the Cambodian story is not told sufficiently well. I mean, I'm saying, who should tell it? Of course, Cambodian government tells it. They say, "Aha, you're interested, party." And then, of course, if think tanks tell it, we have better value. We are
Yes,
independent
indeed,
parties.
indeed.
But there's still a tendency among the European news media, to still take the original,
Yes.
the former role, the former attitude. And for example, I'll give you an example, Prof. Foreign Policy, which is American publications reviving itself. And of course, they're very clever. They're using some brown faces as the frontmen in that revival process. But there's a guy who contributes to foreign policy from Jakarta on Southeast Asia. So I just followed it to see what kind of slant, It takes the traditional Western slant, of something funny, something fishy, something like. So this is the thing, a story we must tell, and it's not told enough. And Cambodia, I
think Cambodia suffer from this narrative perspective, because all the narratives have been, to be fair, because after the war, all the narratives are written by the West. And the peace accord was all driven by the West. And from there, as I mentioned the other day, that when we have the Paris Peace Accord, the Washington Consensus were injected to it, the human right treaty was injected in our constitution. In our constitution, normally a country have the National Assembly have to ratify a convention, in this case the Human Rights Convention, before become law. This one, it was inserted in our constitution, and they say, oh yeah, but they say that you Cambodian put in constitution. But I say in 1991, 92, 93, we just emerged from the war. What the hell we know about convention? It was you guys who squeeze in. And in fact, during the 2018 to 2019, I was asked by the Prime Minister to lobby the European Union because they threatened to remove our trade preference, the Everything But Arms initiative. And then they did say that you are violating the human rights. But I say, you know, they say it's in the Constitution. We didn't ask you to do it. It's in your Constitution. But I say, look, who wrote that, right? Who influenced it? Yes, we may be the pen holder, but who actually influenced it, right? So to put it in a very short way, at that time, the West was pushing this. And we're so happy to have peace back then. We didn't think of anything else. You know, even our legal system, it was a mixture because, you know, we have no law at that time after the war, right? The French didn't want to help us on the civil code, even though we used to be a French colony, a French protectorate, right? And it was Japan who saw that opening to help us on the civil code. The French helped on the criminal code because of the Khmer Rouge trial, right? So now everybody wanted to help us at that time. The American want to help, the Japanese, the British, the Australian, and the only guy confused is the Cambodian.
Well, you know, the thing is right now, the peace accord is the big news, right? Good, tick, plus, but there is the scam, you know? Now the scam is bad news, and it is put across as a reflection, I told you so. This is what Cambodia is about, you know? Now, the point is there are scams everywhere, okay? A scam goes to Singapore. They don't say that's what Singapore is about. For example, some Malaysians involved, they don't say what Malaysia is about. So you become a kind of a fall guy, right? Whenever something. But then, you know, there was this burglary at the Louvre. Oh, how can that happen? They make it into a little joke. And not, this is what the French is about, inefficient or whatever it is.
They pickpocket.
Yeah, they pick. And then, you know, when Venezuelan boats or whatever is, Trump sinks people, sinks boats, kills people, it's funny, it is Trump, you know. So they say, it's not what the US has been doing as well in the past. So there is this unevenness, you know, in treatment. And so far, coming back to your point about Cambodia, you guys are growing fast. You know, see the facts. You know.
And the thing, you know, when I read article, the first thing I check who wrote. It's the same guy. Same guy. In fact, when the U.S. cut all the Radio Free Asia, you know, what's Voice America, everything, suddenly they disappear for a while, right? Until, because they run, there's no more money. And then after a while, they probably find some other source of funding. But it's the same few people who wrote, rehashing that same thing. You look at the article, they say the one page, right? 90% is the old rehash from the old one. They add a few updates. But again, it's their job. What can I say? You know, if I'm a writer, that's all I do to make my living, right? But the point is, it's about counter narrative. We have to tell, as you rightly say so, we have to tell our story. And you know, Michael, you've been here many years already. You know, you see the reality on the ground. I mean, the economy is thriving. Yes, there are scams here and there, it's fine. But at the end of the day, you know, every society have its own headache. You know, when I go to London, I was so afraid that somebody would snatch my phone. When I go to Paris, I was making sure that my wallet is not, you know, pickpocket. And so it's normal, you know, it's normal. But the point, when I ride the metro, I'm scared because I may be pushed and I could be robbed, you know. I mean, so at the end of the day, I mean, it's life. Every society have its own nonsense, you know. It's different nonsense. But back to think tanks, I think for sure we have a big role to play. Yeah, positive role, and I want to stress on the positive role. I want to stress more on the economic side of it, because ASEAN is all about economic in a way. You know, if you look at the political security pillar and the economic pillar, it's the economic pillar that is progressing. The political thing is like a tango, you know, 2 step forward, 1 step backward. It's like that. It's fine. It's fine. But the economic, we're moving fast. We have so many of this free trade agreement, that sort of thing. We upgrade the free trade agreement. So things are moving in that sense.
The economic pillar, I mean, you look at the Vision 2045, you know, ASEAN Vision 2045 economic pillar. For the first time, it also included the geo-economic challenges.
Yes.
And I think, of course, there is a geo-economic task force now in ASEAN.
Yes.
At the same time, this task force comprises largely officials and ministers. I think they should be augmented with think tank support. They should be throwing things, okay, we need some advice on this, or we should be throwing at them. This is advice we suggest on this point and that point. So that's one aspect of the economic pillar, which is good, the foundational aspect of it. Now, the other aspects of the economic pillar is there is always this great enthusiasm for growth. Okay, a desire to achieve greater growth, and this identification of numbers. Digitalization, for example, the digital economy will add 1.1 trillion to the ASEAN economy. We got digitalized and so on. So these numbers become very exciting numbers. People will then concentrate on digitalization, you know, modernizing innovation of the economy. On the other side of it, of course, the sustainability issues, you know. The sustainability issues have also got to be emphasized. So we have of even and steady growth. And these are issues that will also affect the economy. I mean, like, you know, in terms of climate change and climate action, the Asian and Southeast Asian economies will suffer more than other economies in the world if climate change continues at the rate it is going, and if there are floods and droughts at the rate they are happening, we will suffer more. So we must also emphasize climate change to protect our growth, our economy. And this is very, very strong. And this is the, you know, we had this conference just yesterday, day before, you know, on the need to have sustainability. Yes. And the state sustainability development goals, you know, they're called SDGs. You know, they are development and they are sustainable goals. It should be more emphasized and more measured, accounted, audited in terms of how we are doing, particularly energy transition. That's fundamental.
So on the energy transition, you know, how well ASEAN is doing?
Varied. You know, it's varied. You are doing very well.
We're 62%.
In Cambodia.
Yeah,
You're doing very well. Malaysia is also doing very well. Very good plans. Very good targeted transition plans in solar and hybrid solar and hydro, in biomass, and of course, in Sarawak, for example, we have, you know, not just blue, but not just green. We're going to blue hydrogen, you know, power, and so Sarawak wants to be the battery of ASEAN. It can be, but there's a lot of money to involve, you know, especially in the generation, in the transmission. Now we come back. So when you start transmitting it to Singapore on the seabed of the South China Sea, what about the 9-dash line? If I was an insurer, you got to pay higher premium because of the uncertainties.
Of the uncertainty.
So we must solve the political as well. It's always like
Yes,
this,
yes,
you know.
yes,
And it's very important to have the code of conduct done
Yes,
and wrapped up. Because Vietnam is supplying wind power
Yeah.
to Singapore along the China Sea again,
Yeah,
the seabed.
yeah.
So there are these issues, you know, which ASEAN must address, even as it wants to generate the transition in power, develop the ASEAN grid, There's also the political undercurrent, so to
Yes,
speak,
indeed,
that must be
indeed.
here. So.
Yeah, I would say, you know, our region is quite diverse. You have the ASEAN landmass, which is more the Mekong region, and then the maritime, which is, you know, Singapore, Indonesia, the Philippines, Malaysia. Malaysia, you consider yourself as maritime, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's quite interesting that how we're moving forward, you know, and we're tackling new issue. You know, energy is the new digital economy, which is we're working quite well to move on the digital what you call agreement. Is that DESA, right?
DIFA. DIFA, the
DIFA.
Digital Economy Framework. Right?
Digital economy framework. Yeah. DIFA. Yeah.
That has not been finalized yet, right? Yeah.
Supposed to have been by
It
end
was
of the year.
supposed to be done by the end. Even Indonesian, you know, was
Yes,
supposed to
yeah,
be started.
Yeah. So all of this are, you know, is the new economy. You know, the AI, all that thing is riding on the DIFA, on the, you know, I would say. The creation of this data center and everything. So I think the region is moving.
We are the
fast.
future.
Moving quite fast. Yeah. So anyway, I think we are. I can see, Michael, you are not feeling too well. But I think I want to wrap up a small little chit chat, you know, on the role of. ASEAN think tank, and for sure there is a role for us. There is a role for us to influence the policy making. It's a role for us to bring together the other stakeholder, track 1.5, track 2, you know, and now you even bring, you know, the parliamentarian into the picture. All this, it provide a good global compact, you know, on how we think of a certain topic, of a certain issue. Yes, we may not have total, you know, conversion, but it's good to have divergence. It's good to see how diverge our views so that we can reconcile and at some point come up with a compromise, you know. And basically, at the end of the day, it's all about compromise. There's no perfect situation, no perfect solution, and if we can achieve some sort of compromise, I think I'm happy, and ASEAN will go on for the next 50 years. You know, many people say ASEAN is slow, but slow and steady. We don't want to rush and have Brexit, you know. So far, we only have new entrant. We don't have people leaving the organization. So this is quite, you know, an achievement for ASEAN. So Michael, TanSri, it's a pleasure to have you, you know, for this short event. And I want to say good return to your good country. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we're coming to the end of this short discussion, and as always, when we're about to get, you know, into very interesting discussion, time is not on our side. But anyway, you have a glimpse of what the ASEAN think tank can do to advance the political, economic, social agenda of ASEAN, and not just of ASEAN, but of the region of the world. And hopefully, you know, the world will be a better place with more third-party independent contribution from think tank like, you know, KSI, you know, for example, yeah. So on that note, I say good evening, and I see you next time. Thank you.